What's up, everybody? This is Lyle with No Hippie Barbecue, and I have a pretty big barbecue going on tomorrow, so if during this video you see a lot of random stuff behind me, I'm just getting ready for this barbecue. Anyway, we're having some beef ribs, some brisket, pulled pork, some pork ribs, baked beans, some guacamole, some potato salad. Anyway, I can't film all that, so we're going to knock this brisket out. Anyway, I was on the phone with one of my boys that has a YouTube channel. His name is James at Aim 'em and Claim 'em Smokers. And I was talking about this barbecue coming up, and I was going to be doing a brisket, and this guy can seriously cook a brisket. I'm going to leave a link to his channel in the iCard above in the description below. Anyway, he's from Texas, and we were, he asked me, how I was going to season it, and I was just joking around with him, because I'm always joking around about that whole, I'm going to do a Texas brisket. And he said, you know what, a lot of times people have a misconception that Texas barbecue is just salt and pepper, and he's like, I'm going to be honest with you, it's not. He said it just kind of got like that a little bit more recently. So anyway, we were just talking, and so I'm going to use some of his advice on this rub a little bit. I'm going to change it up from my normal one. I've been using a brisket rub, John Henry's brisket rub, and that stuff is good, but I figure, I'm going to just kind of wing one myself, kind of use some of the elements he was talking about in it. And he also turned me on to this Butcher's Barbecue Prime Brisket Injection, so we're going to be injecting it with this. He says this is some good stuff. I've never used it, so this video is just going to be kind of me doing a brisket, kind of doing my review on this Butcher Barbecue Injection, as well as cooking on my Weber Smokey Mountain. The temperature right now is like, we're in what, June 23rd, something like that, and we're like 47 degrees outside, and we're supposed to be staying kind of in that range till tomorrow morning, with maybe a little bit of a rain mist going on, which for me is a perfect cooking temperature for a brisket or anything like that on a long cook on the Weber Smokey Mountain. What do I have? I got our Butcher's Barbecue Injection we're going to be injecting it with. I'm going to go ahead and make this rub as we go. And I'm just going to be winging it. One thing that I learned about barbecue and talking to James and a few of these other people is sometimes people overthink these rubs, so we're just going to kind of throw it together. So the first ingredient I'm going to have is I have these Tricolor Peppercorns, which I've already ground up. I have that in here. So we're just going to go ahead and add that in. I have some kosher salt. I'm going to go about half of what the pepper is. I have some cumin, and I did forget to take this lid off before we started this video. Let me go ahead and get this off. We're going to just add a little bit of that. Like I said, this is not any kind of a recipe. This is something we're throwing together, and I would advise you guys to maybe do the same thing. Don't get where you feel like, a lot of times people get paralysis by analysis when it comes to cooking barbecue. They feel like they need to follow specific instructions, and that's not the case. Anyway, we got the cumin in. I'm going to hit it with a little paprika. And I was talking to James again at Aim 'em and Claim 'em. He likes to use garlic in his. I'm going to skip the garlic. We're just going to go with a little bit of onion powder. And that's going to be our rub right there. So I'm going to set this aside and shake it up, and this is going to be ready for us when we are done with our brisket trim. As far as what I'm going to spritz it with when we are on the grill, I have some pickle juice in here. I'd say about 3, or pickle juice, olive juice, and then I have some hot sauce. I just have a habanero hot sauce that I like using, and then very little bit of apple cider vinegar. So I would say that 75% of this is made up of pickle juice, and then the rest of it's just a mixture of other stuff. Anyway, I'm going to get this brisket trimmed up, and I'll see you back. So I have this brisket trimmed up about as much as I'm going to want to trim it up. Now I'm going to get into this Butcher's Injection. Basically what it is you're supposed to add 3 of these measuring cups that are provided with 2 cups of water. Add a little bit more than 2 cups of water, so I'm going to go ahead and just add a touch more. This looks like it's actually going to last longer than or go farther than the directions say, because it said this should be good for 2 12-pound briskets, but I took 3 cups out of there and there's still, looks like about another 6 cups left. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and stir this in. Go ahead and pour this into a different container to make it a little easier. So we're going to go in a grid pattern about 1 inch apart. I have the fat side down on this just because the fat's going to create kind of a little bit of a barrier in case you do go through it a little bit further than you want. So as we inject it, we're injecting and we're kind of pulling it out at the same time. One thing that they recommend is when, in case I forget to mention it later, is they do recommend that when you're done injecting it, that you wipe this brisket off. I guess it forms a barrier between the meat and the rub, so if you cook it, you could have some issues with the rub flaking off. Anyway, I'm going to finish injecting this brisket and we'll be back. Alright guys, so I got this brisket injected up. I had a little bit of injection left over and we're going to get to that a little bit later. For now, I'm going to get this in the refrigerator. It's 2 o'clock now. We're going to get the brisket on about 7 o'clock. So at 5 o'clock, what I'm going to do is see if I can get any more injection pushed into this, the stuff that's left over. Then we're going to wipe it off, season it, and then it's going to go on the grill. So right now, it's just going in the fridge. It's been about a couple hours since I put this in the refrigerator, and I decided not to go ahead and add any more of that injection, but I am going to wipe it off. Like I said, they said that if you don't wipe it off, it's going to create some flaking when you go to slice it later on. So we're going to go ahead and take that off. As far as seasoning the bottom of it, I'm going to season the bottom, which is going to be the fat side, when we throw it on the smoker. Because if I throw it on now in this pan, it's just going to stick to the pan and it's not going to, it's just not going to stay. So we're just going to throw the seasoning on when we get it out on the smoker, which is going to be in about 2 more hours. As far as the seasoning, we're going to go pretty light on it. This injection is pretty strong, so I don't want to overpower it. So we're just going to put the light coat on it. Alright, so we got this seasoned up. Throw it back in the refrigerator for 2 hours. I'm going to go ahead and get this Weber Smokey Mountain fired up in probably about another hour and a half, something like that. Anyway, we'll see you then. Alright guys, it's time to fire this Weber up. Now, I know that I put a little bit more wood in than you may be seeing in other Weber Smokey Mountain videos, but one thing I could never accuse a Weber Smokey Mountain of is having too much smoke. Anyway, let's go ahead and I'm not using any minion method. I'm just gonna drop these coals right on here. That seems to work for me. I'll still be able to go for 12 plus hours the way it sits. I will be using the water pan in this cook, which I do sometimes and sometimes I don't. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this thing together, get my grates cleaned off, and get this brisket on. We are out here at the Weber Smokey Mountain. I have the fat side up on it. I haven't seasoned that yet. We're just going to go ahead and, again, just throw some light seasoning on top of this. Let's go. And this is about as much seasoning as I put on the other side. Alright, so now we're gonna go ahead and let this cook. I'm thinking of 7 o'clock now. I'll probably check on it every couple hours, and I'm gonna spritz it down with that spritz that we were talking about earlier. About an hour in, I'm about to lose some daylight, but I did just want to recap this. got this Weber Smokey Mountain humming at about 250 degrees. I want to stay anywhere between 245 and maybe 265 on this. Like I said, for the next, well, starting in another hour, and then every hour after that for about the next 5 hours. I'm going to spritz it down with that spritz that we had. I will be having my pit barrel cooker rocking out some beef ribs, so that's why this is set up and about ready to go. Anyway, I guess we will pick this up tomorrow morning and see what we're looking like. So we are now 10 hours in on this cook. It's 5:30 in the morning. I overslept a little bit, ran outside to hurry up and check this temperature. Temperature on the Weber Smokey Mountain was still holding at about 220 degrees, which is pretty remarkable because we had a little bit of rain come through here last night, and it's about 45 degrees, I'd imagine. And I was using a water pan, so I was kind of concerned about where we were going to be sitting as far as temperature. I did add about 20 more coals to it just to bring it up to temperature just a little bit to get it in that 250 range. Anyway, let's go ahead and check this meat. So I told you that I came out here and checked this a little bit earlier, and the temperature, the probe was sliding in and out so easily at this temperature that I figured I would bring another thermometer out here. So I'm going to just go ahead and throw two of them in and just double check this temperature right quick. Yeah, that's about right, 168, 178. So I'm not going to cover this. I'm just going to go ahead and finish it up till we get to about, I may take it off at 195 if it still seems this tender, but I don't know. We'll play this by ear. So I just pulled this brisket off of the smoker. We were anywhere between 199 and like 202, depending on where we probed it. I'm telling you, this thing looks like extremely moist. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up in some foil. And then I'm going to throw it in I'm going to wrap it in a thermal blanket, and I'm going to throw it in a cooler. My party's in about 3.5 hours, so it should be perfectly ready to go for that. So I'll catch you back when we slice this up. So that's what the brisket looked like. Unfortunately, when I went to take a picture of the brisket slices, I found out that my battery had died. So I put a battery in, took pictures of the brisket, but not only had it died during that part, but I lost about 3/4 of the last scene right before I was about to slice it. So I was going to scrap the video, but rather than doing that, there's a couple things that I kind of wanted to put out there. For any of you guys making briskets, I have never bought that Butcher's barbecue injection before. I actually removed the label that was on here, but this stuff does the trick. Now, I'm not sure if this helps the brisket cook faster or whatever, but it was probing tender at like 190, like in the low 190s. So I still took it up a little bit higher, but I think I might have been able to go ahead and cut it a little bit earlier. Anyway, if you're interested in this, I think I bought this on Amazon. I think it was $22 at the time. I think it was like a Best Buy or something when I bought it. This was the Butcher's Barbecue Prime Injection. Right now, I think on Amazon it's at $32. They also have an original version which doesn't have quite the same beef flavor to it, and that's about $19 a pound. You know, I think I've used it for about 3 briskets. I might actually have enough in here to maybe do closer to a total of 7 or 8 briskets out of that 1 pound. So, you know what? It kind of goes a long ways. Adds some good flavor, adds some moisture, it has all that phosphates and stuff in it. So I will be using this again. I may try the regular version that doesn't have quite as much beef flavor. Not because the flavor was too strong, but just to go with something a little bit different and maybe try that out. Anyway, also, I had to mention my boy James at Aim'em and Claim'em Smokers. He is a true, like, I mean, I can cook some barbecue. You know, I think I do all right. I hit some, I miss some, but he definitely is somebody that can teach you how to really get into trimming that brisket. So I'm going to leave a link to his barbecue channel in the iCard above and the description below. I mean, you want to talk about somebody that does some detail as far as their trimming goes. You know, I'm pretty quick with mine. I just get mine out of the way. I'm not trying to get too fancy with it, but he can definitely show you how competition cooks do it. As a matter of fact, depending on when you watch this, he just did a trimming video on pork butt, you know, where he basically separated the money muscle from the rest of it. And, you know, anyway, run by his channel, subscribe to him, tell him No Hippie Barbecue sent you over there. Anyway, sorry I didn't get that, get any of that slicing video footage in this video, but I can assure you that that brisket was good. Maybe a little bit of flaking on the end. I think maybe I got a little aggressive on that injection. I was kind of going in through the side, so I don't know if that, if you look at that photo of the brisket, there was like a little bit off to like the left-hand side of that brisket that, you know, could have looked maybe a little bit better. Anyway, thanks for stopping by No Hippie Barbecue. I appreciate it. Comment, subscribe, and I'm out.